Mia's heart raced as she held her newborn twins close to her chest. The hospital room was quiet except for their soft cries. She looked around anxiously, waiting for Liam to return. He had stepped out hours ago, saying he needed some air. The nurse entered the room, giving Mia a sympathetic smile. "Your husband still hasn't returned?" she asked gently. Mia shook her head, trying to keep her worrying at bay. "No, but he will. He promised." The nurse nodded, her eyes filled with pity. "Well, if you need anything, just press the call button." As the nurse left, Mia felt a chill run down her spine. She clutched the twins tighter, their warmth offering little comfort. The hours ticked by, and there was still no sign of Liam. She tried calling him multiple times, but each call went straight to voicemail. By evening, Mia's worrying turned into panic. She dialed Liam's number again, her hands trembling. This time, the call connected. "Liam, where are you?" she cried. There was a brief silence before Liam's cold voice responded. "I'm not coming back, Mia. You're on your own now." Mia's heart stopped. "What do you mean? We just had twins." "How can you leave us like this?" Liam sighed, his tone indifferent. "I never wanted this life, Mia. The responsibility, the commitment, I can't do it. Goodbye." The call ended, leaving Mia in a state of shock. Tears streamed down her face as she looked at her babies. How could he abandon them like this? The weight of the situation pressed down on her, making it hard to breathe. Mia returned home from the hospital with her twins, Sophie and Eli. The once cozy apartment now felt like a prison. Every corner reminded her of Liam, of the dreams they had shared, and the future they had planned together. Now, it all seemed like a cruel joke. She placed the twins in their crib and sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the ceiling. The reality of her situation was sinking in. She had no job, no family nearby, and very little savings. The bills were piling up, and she had 2 mouths to feed. Mia knew she had to act fast. She started by calling her friends, hoping someone could offer a helping hand. Most of them expressed their sympathy, but few were in a position to help. Her best friend Tara offered to babysit, while Mia looked for a job. It was a small relief, but it gave her a glimmer of hope. The next few weeks were a blur of job applications and sleepless nights. Mia would leave the twins with Tara, and spend hours walking from one business to another, asking if they were hiring. Rejection after rejection chipped away at her resolve, but she couldn't afford to give up. One day, she came across a small café, with a help wanted sign in the window. Desperate, she walked in and asked to speak to the manager, a kindly-looking woman named Mrs. Carter greeted her. Mia explained her situation, trying to hold back tears. Mrs. Carter listened patiently and then smiled. "You remind me of myself when I was your age," she said. "I'll give you a chance. You can start tomorrow." Mia couldn't believe her luck. She thanked Mrs. Carter profusely and hurried home to share the good news with Tara. That night, as she rocked Sophie and Eli to sleep, Mia felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, things were starting to look up. The next morning, Mia woke up early, her heart filled with a mix of excitement and anxiety. She dressed quickly and fed the twins before taking them to Tara's. Tara gave her a reassuring hug. "You're going to do great," she said. "Just take it one day at a time." Mia arrived at the café a little before her shift started. Mrs. Carter welcomed her with a warm smile and introduced her to the rest of the staff. Mia felt a wave of nervousness wash over her, but she pushed it aside. She needed this job more than anything. The first few days were tough. Mia struggled to keep up with the fast-paced environment of the café. She made mistakes, dropped trays, and mixed up orders, but each time, Mrs. Carter and her co-workers were patient, offering guidance and encouragement. One evening, after a particularly long day, Mia sat on a bench outside the café, exhausted. Mrs. Carter joined her, handing her a cup of tea. "You're doing well," Mia, she said. It takes time to get the hang of things. Mia nodded, sipping the tea. Thank you for giving me this chance. I don't know what I would have done without it. Mrs. Carter patted her hand. You're a strong woman, Mia. I've seen it in you. You'll get through this, Mia smiled, feeling a sense of gratitude. She knew she had a long way to go, but for the first time in weeks, she felt like she was moving in the right direction. Just as Mia started to settle into her new routine, life threw another curveball her way. One morning, she received a call from Tara. Mia, I can't babysit today. I've come down with the flu. Panic surged through Mia. She couldn't afford to miss work, not after everything she had been through. She quickly dressed the twins and took them to the café with her, hoping Mrs. Carter would understand. When Mia explained the situation, Mrs. Carter looked concerned but understanding. You can keep them in the back office for today, she said. But you'll need to find a more permanent solution. Mia nodded gratefully. She set up a makeshift play area for the twins in the office and hurried to start her shift. Throughout the day, she checked on them whenever she could, but it was clear that this arrangement wouldn't work long term. That evening, after putting the twins to bed, Mia sat down with a heavy heart. She knew she needed to find reliable childcare, but she had no idea how she would afford it. She spent hours researching affordable options, but everything seemed out of reach. The next day, she asked her co-workers if they knew of any affordable daycare centers. One of them, a young woman named Lucy, suggested a community program that offered subsidized childcare for single mothers. Mia felt a glimmer of hope and decided to look into it. The following week, she visited the community center and spoke with the coordinator. After explaining her situation, Mia was relieved to find out she qualified for the program. The twins would be taken care of while she worked, and the cost was something she could manage. With this new arrangement, Mia felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She could focus on her job without constantly worrying about her children. Slowly but surely, she began to find her rhythm, balancing work and motherhood. One evening, as Mia was closing up the café, a familiar face walked through the door. It was Liam. Her heart skipped a beat, and a mix of anger and confusion welled up inside her. Mia, can we talk? He asked, his voice filled with an unfamiliar vulnerability. Mia crossed her arms, trying to keep her emotions in check. What do you want, Liam? He sighed, running a hand through his hair. I made a mistake, Mia. Leaving you and the kids, it was the biggest mistake of my life. I want to make things right. Mia felt a surge of anger. You abandoned us, Liam. Do you have any idea what we've been through? I know, and I'm sorry, he said, his eyes pleading. I was scared, overwhelmed, but I've realized how much I need you and the kids. Please, give me another chance. Mia stared at him, her mind racing. Could she trust him again? Did he deserve a second chance? The wounds were still fresh, and the pain of his betrayal lingered. I need time to think, she said finally. This isn't something I can just forgive and forget. Liam nodded, looking relieved. I understand. I'll give you all the time you need. I just hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. As Liam left, Mia felt a whirlwind of emotions. She didn't know what the future held, but one thing was certain. Her life was far from over. The days following Liam's visit were filled with turmoil. Mia couldn't stop thinking about his plea for forgiveness. Her heart was a battleground of conflicting emotions. On one hand, she remembered the pain and abandonment, but on the other, she couldn't ignore the fact that he was the father of her children. One evening, as she sat on the couch, watching the twins play, Tara called, Hey, Mia, how are you holding up? Mia sighed. I'm confused, Tara. Liam came back. He wants to make things right, but I don't know if I can trust him again. Tara was silent for a moment before responding. It's a tough decision, Mia. Only you can decide what's best for you and the kids. Just remember, Actions speak louder than words. If he truly wants to change, he'll prove it. Mia nodded, appreciating Tara's support. She knew she needed to take things slow and not rush into any decisions. That night, she lay in bed, her mind racing. She thought about the twins and what was best for them. They deserved a father, but did Liam deserve another chance? The next day at work, Mrs. Carter noticed Mia's troubled expression. "Everything okay, Mia?" Mia hesitated before opening up about Liam's return. Mrs. Carter listened quietly before offering her advice. "People can change, Mia, but it's important to see if his actions match his words. Don't rush into anything. Take your time and do what's best for you and the children." Mia nodded, grateful for Mrs. Carter's wisdom. In the weeks that followed, Liam made an effort to prove himself. He started by visiting the twins regularly, bringing them toys and spending time with them. Mia watched cautiously, unsure of his intentions. He also tried to help out with her bills and offered to take on some of the financial burdens she was shouldering alone. Mia appreciated the help, but she remained wary. Liam had broken her trust once, and it wasn't something she could easily forget. One evening, after a particularly long day, Liam showed up at the café with dinner. "I thought you might be hungry," he said, offering her a takeout box. Mia was surprised by the gesture, but accepted it. They sat in silence, eating their meal. After a while, Liam spoke. "Mia, I know I hurt you, and I don't expect you to forgive me overnight. But I want you to know that I'm committed to making things right. I want to be a part of our children's lives and yours, if you'll let me." Mia looked at him, searching his face for sincerity. She could see the regret in his eyes, but she was still unsure. "Liam, I need time," she said quietly. "I'm not ready to make any decisions right now." Liam nodded, his expression serious. "Take all the time you need. I'll be here when you're ready." As Mia watched him leave, she felt a sense of relief. She was glad he was willing to give her space, but she knew the road ahead was still uncertain. Mia continued to focus on her job and her children, finding a semblance of balance in her life. She was still cautious around Liam, but she couldn't deny that he was making an effort. As time passed, she noticed the changes in him. He was more patient, more attentive, and seemed genuinely committed to being a better father. Slowly, Mia began to let her guard down, allowing him to spend more time with the twins. They started going on outings together, like trips to the park and family dinners. The twins were thrilled to have their father around, and Mia couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could be a family again. But even as things improved, Mia knew she couldn't forget the past. She needed to be sure that Liam's change was real and lasting. One evening, after putting the twins to bed, Liam sat down with Mia at the kitchen table. "Mia, I've been doing a lot of thinking," he began, "and I want to ask you something important." Mia felt a knot form in her stomach. "What is it?" she asked, her voice tinged with apprehension. Liam took a deep breath. "I want us to try again, to be a family. I know I don't deserve your trust, but I'm asking for a chance to earn it back. Will you give me that chance?" Mia looked at him, her heart heavy with the weight of the decision. She thought about everything they had been through, the pain, the betrayal, but also the love they once shared and the progress he had made. After a long pause, she finally spoke. "Liam, I can't promise that things will go back to the way they were, but I'm willing to give you a chance to prove that you've changed. We'll take it one step at a time." Liam nodded, relief washing over his face. "Thank you, Mia. I won't let you down." The days that followed were filled with small steps toward healing. Mia and Liam attended counseling sessions together, working through their past issues and learning how to communicate better. It wasn't easy, and there were times when old wounds resurfaced, but they were both committed to making it work. The twins were happier than ever, their laughter filling the apartment as they played with both of their parents. One afternoon, as they all sat together in the park, Mia looked at Liam and the twins, a sense of peace settling over her. It hadn't been an easy journey, and there were still challenges ahead, but for the first time in a long while, she felt hopeful about the future. She knew that they would continue to face difficulties, but she also knew that they were stronger together. As she watched the twins chase after a butterfly, Mia smiled, grateful for the second chance at happiness that life had given them.